So go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
I'm Nikki. I work at Honda and I have 3 kids. They're 7, 3, and my son just turned 1.
So you got a son. Are the other 2 also boys or?
No, they're 2 girls.
2 girls.
They're not biologically mine, but their mom's not really around too much right now, so
okay.
They're mine.
So where are you from originally, Nikki?
Here.
Marion, Ohio? Mm-hmm. Okay. So tell us a little bit about your family and how you were raised as a kid.
I have 2 younger sisters. We were super close when we were little. Not so much now because we're all adults and grown up. But
yeah. You guys still have a relationship though?
Yeah, for the most part.
Just not as much as you did when you were little?
No.
So how's your life now? I know that you said you have 3 kids and everything. What are some things you guys like to do? Go have fun and stuff.
Oh, we're busy all the time. My daughter plays t-ball for her school, so I have that going on. And then we go to church every Sunday, so they always have stuff going on for the church.
Nice. So you said you worked at Honda, right? Mm-hmm. How you like that?
I like it. I've been there. I'll be there a year in June, and I've been trying to get in there since 2012. So when I finally got in, I plan on staying now.
Nice. So are you in a relationship with anybody, married or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm in a relationship with Dallas Davidson. He's currently at CBCF right now in Marysville, West Central.
And that is
It's a low grade prison is what
okay.
it is. It's kind of like a rehab, but
okay.
It's like military style.
Oh, okay. So is he in there for something related to drugs?
Yeah, so he's had a drug problem for quite a while. He was clean for 7 years, and then he struggled with it on and off. We've been together for 2 years, and he's been struggling with it for 2 years. But like the day after Valentine's Day, he overdosed from cocaine and fentanyl.
Wow.
So.
Is there any other thing that he uses?
Not that I am aware of.
So the fentanyl, was it like in heroin or?
It was in the cocaine that he bought. He didn't even know that it was in there. Like, right. He just bought it thinking like, oh, this will be like a weekend thing for me. Yeah. And he ended up like literally dying basically.
Wow.
It was his mom who brought him back, and she said it took her quite a while to bring him back. He has an addictive personality. Right. So when he uses something, it like turns into a problem, and then we have to like figure out ways to change the way that he thinks, which is why he's in CBCF right now.
Oh, okay. So, and that's in Marysville, you said. Mm-hmm. So does that make your guys' relationship difficult?
Yeah.
Him being that far away? I mean, I know it ain't that far away, but he's still not with you.
Yeah, that, and they're not allowed to have like in contact visits right now. So he's been in like the county jail. He was on a holder, so he's been in the county jail since February, and they're not letting people have in-person visits. So he literally hasn't seen his kids in months.
Wow. So how much longer does he have?
That program's 4 to 6 months, so it just depends on how well he works the program. He did just phase up on Friday to phase 2, so.
Okay. So going into that a little further, so you said it was supposed to be like a weekend thing. Mm-hmm. So was that the first time that he had ever tried that stuff?
Cocaine, no.
Okay.
He's never used fentanyl.
Right.
But when he uses, he has, it takes like a mental toll on him. Like usually, cause he's like manic, bipolar, all this other stuff. So it like, when he goes into those depression, like manic depression and all that stuff, that's what he wants to do is use. So when we first got together, he overdosed in my car. And that was a scary moment for me, cause I was in a panic and I didn't really know like what I was supposed to do. And I had to bust my window to get him out because my car was locked.
Wow.
So it's been an ongoing thing for 2 years now. Like he'll do really good for long periods of time, and then he'll hit some manic depression state, and then it's like a downward spiral and it doesn't stop until we get him help.
So when you found him in your car, you said you had to break the window to get him out because the doors were locked?
Mm-hmm.
So you weren't in the car or anything.
Mm-hmm.
He just went out in the car to do whatever he was doing.
He went to go get food.
Yeah.
And he was in the Taco Bell parking lot over on Main Street.
So tell us how you came upon him in the car like that.
So we have an app that, I don't know if you know what Life 360 is. It's like an app where you can tell, like, you can add your family members to it and it'll tell you like where they're at or anything. So I had that on his phone, and he like told me, he's like, hey, I'm gonna go get something to eat and I'll be back. I was like, okay, whatever. So he went down to Taco Bell, and he was sitting there, like he was gone maybe like 20 minutes. And we didn't live that far from Taco Bell, so there should have been no reason he was gone that long. Well, he was gone 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, something's going on. And then it turned into 2.5 hours. I'm like, all right, something's going on. So I looked on the app, and he was sitting in Taco Bell, and it said he had been there at like, I can't even remember the time, but he had been sitting there for a good like 5 to 10 minutes in the same spot. So I was like thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to wait, because if something's wrong, like it's not going to take very long for him to just nobody respond to anything. So I took off and I started walking down there, and by the time I got there, like I saw my car, he had like parked in a spot and went to like back out, and when he backed out, I guess he like fell out, and like my car was in reverse and everything.
Wow.
So I got there and I found him, and like I'm obviously in a panic, like pounding on the windows. He had the music blaring, so he wouldn't have heard me anyway, and he's just nodded out in my car, and I didn't really know like what to do. I tried to call 911, but I was in such a panic, like I couldn't get my phone unlocked. So I had one of his other friends like ended up showing up with me, and they like took a crowbar and busted my back window out.
Wow. So when you got there, he was unconscious. The car was in reverse, and one of his friends had to bust the window out just to get him out. And how long did you say it took to revive him?
We called the ambulance before we even walked up there. So they were already on their way there. But like as soon as we pulled him out of the car, he woke up. So I don't know like if he was like at the point where he was starting to nod out and just wasn't waking up or what happened. But when I first saw him, I thought he was dead.
So how are you dealing with that mentally?
It's been hard. It's been really hard. And then not long, like a week after he overdosed and went to jail, my sister passed away from an overdose in the county jail.
And what drug was she using when she overdosed?
The same thing, cocaine with fentanyl in it.
And it was, man, that's terrible.
Yeah.
And she passed away, you said? And that was before he went to jail?
He was in the jail when it happened.
Oh, he was in jail when your sister overdosed?
Because I had to call him and tell him like, hey, I have something to tell you. And I said, Tiffany passed away. And he said, what? And he said, I thought she was in jail. I said, she was. It happened in the jail. And he was like, I wondered why I saw all of the guards running from the male side to the female side. So it was really hard for me to tell him that. Plus, like, it was hard on both of us because I have to deal with that out here on top of, like, not having him as support. And then he had to deal with it in there, not being able to be out here to see her or anything.
Yeah. So go ahead and tell us the story about how you found out that your sister had overdosed.
So I talked to her that same morning. She had called me. I was getting ready to take my daughter to school, and she had called me and she said, hey, I need you to come get my debit card for me. I was like, okay, why, what's going on? She's like, well, I'm at the police department. I have to fill out a paper for, she was involved in another case that she had to be like a witness or testify against. So she was there filling out a paper for that. And I was like, okay, well, I have to take Tesla to school at 12:15. And she was like, well, I need you to come do this like right now. Like they're going to take me to jail. And if you don't come get my debit card, I'm not going to be able to give it to you. So I ended up going and getting it. And when I got there, she was already in the back of the police car waiting for me with handcuffs on. And the officer handed me her card. And he was like, hey, I'm sorry for the inconvenience. And the last time I saw her was she like looked out the police officer's car and like looked at me and shook her head, yeah, because she had to verify that it was me. And that's the last time I'd ever talked to her or seen her. And then they took her to jail. She was booked in at the jail at, I think, 12:45. And on the phone call that I had before work, I had told her like, hey, I need you to re-add me on jail mail because I deleted you. She was like, well, why'd you do that? I said, because I didn't think you were going to go back to jail. And she kind of laughed and she was like, me either. And so she went and they booked her in, and I was expecting to like get a phone call or like a message or something from her. So, cause it was very weird for her not to do that. And it was maybe around like 2:30 and I had to leave for work, and I looked and there was nothing on there yet. So I was like, well, maybe she's just still in booking. I got to work and I clocked in at I had to be there at 4:45. I went out to the floor and I got a weird like phone call from like 530 area code. So I silenced my phone, and then right as soon as I put getting ready to put my phone back in my pocket, I got a text or a messenger from I don't even remember the girl's name, to be honest with you. She was like, hey, my sister is in the county jail with your sister, and they just told me that she died an hour ago.
Wow. So you heard it from somebody that didn't even work at the jail.
Yeah.
Just somebody who had somebody in there that they knew.
Yeah. And at that point, I like went into a full blown like panic attack because, that's a scary situation hearing something like that. But at the same time, like you don't know whether to believe that it's true or not. Yeah. So they sent me down to medical, and I was trying to get a hold of somebody at the jail, but they were on lockdown, of course, so nobody was answering. Yeah. And I had to pretty much just wait it out. And I waited maybe like 20 minutes, and I called my dad, and I was like, what did you hear? He was like, I haven't heard anything, but I'm on my way to the jail right now. And the jail ended up sending him to the hospital, and I met my dad at the hospital.
How did you deal with that? How did you cope with the loss of your sister?
I don't know that I still have days where I cry about her, and it's hard. It really is hard. When I was 10 years old, I lost my mom to breast cancer, and I had to raise my two sisters.
And then one of your sisters overdosed. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go into that. So at 10 years old, you lost your mom to breast cancer. Mm-hmm. Where was your dad during this?
My dad was there, but like there was so much going on that he was like physically there, but like emotionally and mentally he was not there.
So he was still raising you technically, but
he was there, yes, but he was like not the parental figure that we needed at that age. And I don't want to say a lot of bad things about my dad, but my dad did a lot of wrong things at that age that me being a 10-year-old should not have had to have dealt with.
Yeah. So at 10 years old, losing your mom, mm-hmm. breast cancer, and your dad not really being the father figure that you thought that he should have been, how hard was it on you to have to raise your two other sisters?
It was hard, but I think that's what brought us a whole lot closer than what we used to be.
So, do you ever feel guilty, like maybe your sister overdosing was your fault since you were the one that raised them from such a young age?
Absolutely. And yeah. I feel like there was a lot more that I could have done for her before that happened, but...
So did you ever mess with any of that stuff or anything? So how did she get into it?
One of her ex-boyfriends a long time ago shot her up with heroin, and it was like downhill after that. And she
didn't even consent to it. He just like...
I don't know the situation on it, and I can't ask her about it now, but from what I heard and what I was told was that he shot her up with heroin, and that was the first time she'd ever tried. I mean, that's not the first time she'd ever tried drugs, but like that was the first initial like her addiction started.
So she overdosed in the jail, you said. Mm-hmm. How did she get a hold of the drugs in the jail? Did she sneak them in, or did she get them once she was in there for somebody else?
That we're still trying to figure out. What I want to say happened is she brought them in with her, just because that wouldn't be the first time that she's done that. Yeah. But there's a lot that the jail should have done to prevent that from happening.
Yeah. So how was your relationship with your mom before she passed away?
It was great.
Yeah.
I was really young, so I don't really like remember a whole lot, but it was great.
Yeah. Do you remember how you felt at 10 years old? Did you even know what breast cancer was then? Mm-hmm. And what was your response when she passed away?
I think I was just like in shock, I guess. Like I was, but I wasn't. Like I knew that something bad was going to happen to her because my dad tried to kind of prepare all of us to like basically be prepared, that she wasn't going to be there. But at 10 years old, like, can you really say you were prepared to lose a parent?
Yeah. Do you think that had anything to do with your sister eventually getting into drugs?
Yeah, because my mom's mom, my grandma, she had cancer too, and her and Tiffany were like super close, and she lost her and then lost my mom, and it's been her life has like went downhill since then.
I know a lot of people turn to that stuff as an escape mm-hmm. when something traumatizing like that happens to them. Mm-hmm. Quite a bit of the people that you've been surrounded with have mm-hmm. got caught up in drugs. What made you want to go a different route?
I just never, I guess, subjected myself to those type of people. I kind of just stayed to myself, and I wanted better for my life and for my kids when I had them. Mm-hmm.
So, in the other two kids that are not your biological kids, mm-hmm. you said their mom is Kylie. Mm-hmm. Is she in the process of trying to get clean right now, or?
As far as I know, last I knew, she was 35 or 36 days clean. Yeah. But I don't conversate with her. I don't really talk to her unless it's about the girls. But even then, I try not to put myself in that situation because we're not on terms to where we could just do that yet.
Yeah. And then your man, you said, is he your boyfriend or fiance?
We're engaged, yeah.
You guys are his fiance, okay. So, and he is in the process of trying to get clean right now also, right? So what do you see yourself doing with that situation if he doesn't?
I can't really say what I'm going to do. Like, I've kind of already given him the ultimatum, like, this is it or there's nothing, because I can't. When we got together, I told him that if we decided to have children, that I was not going to put my kids through what his kids have been through. So
how are you doing? How do you feel today?
I mean, I'm okay today. Today's a good day, I guess.
But I mean, you've been shouldering a lot of stuff that you really didn't have any control over. Your mom passing away when you were 10, your sister overdosing in jail, and now your current fiance overdosing in a rehab facility. What do you do to deal with all that mentally? Because it takes a toll on somebody over a while.
I mean, I can't tell you what I do. I just have to deal with it, and I have to tell myself that I have kids that I have to worry about first. And
do you have like a release, like something that you enjoy doing that kind of takes your mind off of it?
Not really. I mean, I kind of just spend time with my kids mostly, and I mean, going to church helps a lot. I'm in a lot of like extra church activities and church groups that do a lot for me.
So you're religious, yeah. So do you look to the Word of God, or do you pray, and that makes you?
Usually, if I have like a bad day or something, I'll reach out to like my pastor, or I have like a lady in the church that I kind of look to as a mentor to me. She does a lot for me and a lot in our kids department, which is what I help in, and she's kind of been like the church mom that I need, I guess.
Yeah. So, are you on any kind of antidepressants or
Absolutely.
anything like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you get on those?
I got on those after I had my son because I had postpartum and I didn't even realize that I had it, I guess. So they gave me an antidepressant and a like anxiety med.
So what are your bad days like?
My bad days, I don't want to get up out of bed. I will literally lay around all day if I don't have to do anything. If I have to go to work, I will lay there until I have to leave for work. So
have you ever been, has anybody ever tried to peer pressure you into trying the drugs that they're trying? Mm-mm. No, because I know you said that your sister was put onto the drugs by her boyfriend. Mm-hmm. I was just wondering, because there's so many people around you doing it, it's kind of like...
I think they've all kind of like realized like that I guess the glue of what holds everybody together. So they're kind of in that mindset where like, well, she's the better one of all of us, so we're not going to subject her to any of that. Like I didn't even know, like when my sister would start using again, I wouldn't even know because she wouldn't tell me. She would just hide it from me and then lie about it.
Well, you shouldn't feel guilty about what happened to your sister, even though it was a tragic thing. You shouldn't feel guilty about it. You were trying to raise her from a young age when nobody should have to do that. It was unfortunate what happened to your mom, of course, but people are going to do what they want to do. You can only help people that want to be helped. So you did more than you should have had to do. So what would you tell somebody growing up in a situation like that? Your situation is pretty unique. Usually people either lose somebody from an overdose or lose somebody to cancer. In your situation, you lost your mother to cancer and then had your sister overdose. And now you're currently dealing with your fiance struggling with addiction. What would your advice be for somebody growing up and dealing with similar situations?
Don't turn your back on them. Yeah, don't turn your back on them, because then something's going to happen and you're not going to be able to say you're sorry. And that's what my dad's dealing with right now, because my dad stopped talking to my sister over a year ago. And now that she's gone, he's trying to make up for everything that he didn't do for her and her daughter. I feel like there was more that I could have done for her as far as like her addiction goes. Like I feel like there was more that I should have or could have done to help her, I guess, stay away from it. Part of that being when she got out of rehab, she moved in with me, and we were living in Columbus, and we were in a situation where we couldn't like afford it anymore. So we moved back to Marion and found something cheaper. And because we moved back here, she started using it instantly as soon as we got back.
Yeah. I can see how you would think that, but you got to understand that some people are going to do what they're going to do eventually, regardless of how much you try to help them. Like I said, if they don't want to be helped, you can't help. I hope that you don't live with that guilt, even though I know it's hard not to, just because of the situation. It seems like that you had something to do with it, but I hope you don't put that burden on yourself. So a lot of the stuff that I ask you guys to get on here and talk about is difficult to talk about. What made you come up with the courage to come here today and share your story with people?
Because I want what happened to my sister to not happen to anybody else. Because there shouldn't have been a reason that she died in the county jail.
Yeah.
I want people to know that if you have somebody in your family that is an addict, support them. That's what they need. They need support. They don't need people to talk bad about them, talk down to them, or treat them any differently because they have an addiction problem.
Absolutely.